the Honorable Commissioner of Education of Osun State in absentia, the Honorable Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General of Osun State, ably represented, the Vice Chancellor, sir, kindly permit me to stand on the already established protocol. Yeah, although my heart goes on to Professor Ashubiojo, right? Professor Ashubiojo, Professor Adagunodo, and then Professor Owade. And you understand, you understand the logic. They have been my senior colleagues, let me put it that way, professional colleagues in open distance and e-learning. Thank you very much. So my work here this morning is not a very tedious one. I am just to tell us how far we've gone. But in my characteristic manner, I usually want to provide some historical background. You know, they say one German philosopher once said that we learn history. Why? We want to know what has happened in the past. Why that one will tell us why we are, and show us the way forward, where we are heading to. So let me start by saying brief history of education in Nigeria. In 1845, formal education was introduced by Mr. Claudius Phillips, a Church Missionary Society teacher in Badagry, Lagos, when he enrolled 40 men and graduated them after 12 years in 1857. Emphasis mine. All the graduates were immediately employed, as it was then, so it is now, or until very recently, where the society expects that once you graduate, you must gain employment. So our curriculum over the years have been tuned towards go to school, graduate, gain employment. The things are changing. Now, what were the main objectives of setting up the school? To produce interpreters for the missionaries, to generally assist the missionaries in their clerical works, and to effectively propagate Christianity. Now the lesson here is that every educational endeavor must have its objectives and its effective outcomes. Now, for higher education in Nigeria. In 1934, the first higher education institution, Yaba Higher College, was established in the country. Now in 1948, university education was brought to the doorsteps of Nigerians through the establishment of the University College, Ibadan. Now, prior to the establishment of the University College, Ibadan, Nigerians obtained their university degrees through three major routes. One, Nigerians staying abroad will stay there and obtain their degrees and probably come home later. Now, Nigerians that want scholarships to study abroad and return. Some of us that have read Things Fall Apart and is the one that follows it no longer exists. We remember Obi Okonkwo, how the church contributed money and sent him abroad and all that. And now through the distance education mode. So what I'm saying here is distance education is not new to Nigeria. Even the University College Ibadan that was set up in 1948 was set up as a form of distance education, franchise, transnational education, because it was set up and midwifed up to 1962 by the University of London. I stand to be corrected anyway. So in the 1930s, some Nigerians took courses through correspondence from British universities, according to Enugu and Ojogu, 2006, and notably the University of London, that I've just said. Also recall the Rapid Resource Correspondence College of London, established in 1928. While growing up in primary secondary school, I met some of my big uncles studying through the Rapid Resource Correspondence College. Now, in contemporary Nigeria, access to university education has remained a challenge. As we all know, that more than 1,500,000 applicants seek placement in the 272 universities in Nigeria annually, with less than 30% of them eventually gaining the admission. Now, some of the efforts that the Nigerian government has put in place to address the challenge of access to university education include establishment of more universities by the federal government of Nigeria from 1960. That is University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And today, the number of federal universities in Nigeria is 61. Establishment of state universities in Nigeria by the state government since 1979, with Rivers State University of Science and Technology blazing the trail. The number of state universities is now 63. Now, from 1999, the country witnessed the provision of university education by private promoters. So today, the number of private universities in Nigeria is 148 and growing. So that has led us to the promotion of open distance and e-learning. Distance education progressed in Nigeria before the establishment of the University of College Ibadan in 1948. It experienced a lull and then came back to life with the University of Lagos Distance Learning Institute, established in 1973. Now, what are the effective outcomes of a good educational system? I just want to come up with 3 scenarios. Scenario number 1. Some of us that followed the Gulda Ultimate Search up to 2022 will remember the 2022 edition with the theme, The Age of Craftsmanship. Emphasis mine. The theme was stressed further in the course of the program to bring back the age of craftsmanship. This implies that there was age of craftsmanship. If you recall, if a bronze, Benin bronze, Igboku crafts, and hide and seek efforts in northern Nigeria. Why I brought this up is that our educational system should have leveraged on these skills and improve on it instead of abandoning them. So the wider implication of it is that we are in the age of innovation skills and innovation and skills. So our curriculum must respond adequately to these issues. Look at, to underscore that, look at the second scenario. 2022 again, MTN ICT and Business Skills Training Initiative Program. Description. The MTN ICT and Business Skills Training is an initiative of the MTN Foundation aimed at building the capacity of young people between the ages of 18 and 35 in the area of ICT and entrepreneurship skills to enhance their entrepreneurial and employability abilities. Now, scenario number 3, which I copied sometime. Now, that was an advert. And the call for the advert emphasized that the candidate must have second-class upper or HND distinction in chemical or electrical engineering without any work experience. And now, not older than 25 years of age by January 2022. If you look generally these days, if you look at adverts coming out of our newspapers, they will tell you that for you to apply for this job, you must hold first degree BSc in any discipline, but it must be, the class must be second class upper in any discipline. And you must not be more than 24 years. That's the way it usually comes around. So why is this? It then means that if you study computer science, for example, you may end up not practicing computer science. Because if you get a job in a logistic environment, that means they will now train you to become whatever they want you to become. So that is the new trend. It's only in government. Even in government, I studied electrical engineering. I ended up being an ODL practitioner. So things are changing. Now under Professor Adamu Rashid, MNI, MFR, FNEL, under his watch, NUC responded to scenario 1 and 2 by unbundling of mass communication degree programs into 7 subgroups, so that as to emphasize the skill aspect of our education. B, introduction of computing and allied programs as the 14th discipline in Nigerian university system. What are we saying? So that we can direct more frontally the issue of artificial intelligence, software engineering, big data, and all that. And again, to further emphasize that issue, there was a creation of the Directorate of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship. So our call now is that higher institutions should follow suit by mounting programs that are relevant to the yearnings of the 21st century job place. Now, before COVID-19, what happened? By the 1980s, the globe started to promote online education, or disruptive technology enables distance learning, that will enable the following: faster access to course materials by delivering them in mixed media format. Why did I bring this one out? Before 1980s, like I said earlier, distance education is not new to us. What used to happen? If you are studying for a degree program of University of London, what will happen is that they will send you course materials, you will read it, you will do the assignment, send back to London via post office or any other postal access means. However, by the 80s, technology has started taking over. So that instead of waiting for postal services, from your computer, from your system, in minutes, in seconds, you download your course materials and then move on. So now you can work and learn. That's very important for open distance and e-learning. There's flexibility in time and space, and it promotes lifelong learning. Surprisingly, Nigerians were slow to adapt to changes occasioned by disruptive technologies in teaching and learning methods until the advent of COVID-19 pandemic. Reason, attitudinal. For example, today, if you hold a first-class degree in computer science, for example, and somebody holds a 2-2 or even an HND, what will happen? The person with first class will first gain employment. Whereas in other climes, it's not like that. Somebody with a 2-2 and with, say, Microsoft, Cisco, Oracle certification, because of skills, will be given priority. I'm not saying first class is not good, but if you hold your first class, then you must gain your skills from wherever source. The most important thing is that your education, your degree, must come up with skills. Although we are not very static, only that we are slow to change. Now, what companies do is that, okay, you hold first class, you hold second class upper, come in any discipline, like I said earlier, and then they will now train you. They take you in as an intern, not as direct employment. You still 12 months intern, 6 months intern, and then train you up to whatever you want them, they want you to be. So what are the benefits of the open and distance learning? Ability to study at one space. Ability to combine studies with other activities. For example, I usually argue that, okay, you get enrolled into a distance learning center or a distance learning institution, even as a 17-year-old. The idea is not for you to sit back and read 24/7. The idea is that you must be doing something alongside your studies. So, for instance, if you get enrolled as a computer science student, then you can go and start learning other Cisco configuration of Cisco servers, configuration of Microsoft servers, and all that. So by the time you graduate with your BSc, you already hold certification in Microsoft or Cisco. Then you have it double-edged. That's one of the major advantages of studying through open and distance learning environment. And that's the third point I raised here. Ability to map one's endeavor with studies. You're already a cinematographer. You're already a and you now want to do mass communication. So it places you on a better advantage. And ODL aids career change. Assuming you hold an ND electrical electronic working in TV station, and then some people start telling you that, you would have been better a teacher. Why are you struggling to become an engineer? First person said it, second person, third person. Then something in you should tell you that you are born a teacher. Then you move on. Go and have your BEd in technical education, and you'll be surprised what will happen. Now, after the COVID-19 pandemic, what happened? It suddenly dawned on everybody that the technology-induced learning has come to stay. Zoom and many other collaborative software came to limelight. We now know that you can have collaborative software designed as digital classrooms. You have the Zoom class, you have the Google Classroom, you have the Microsoft Teams of this world, you have the WizIQ, Cisco WebEx, and many others. So today, the only difference between face-to-face and online education now is that you cannot hug each other or touch. Every other thing you achieve. The immediate past vice chancellor mentioned it the other time. And now assessments can be made more credible than the pen on paper examination. I know many people will not agree, but that's the truth of the matter. Many universities are now interested in becoming dual mode universities. Many universities are now interested in integrating e-learning into their academic activities to expand access. I remember while the COVID-19 lasted, I was discussing with the vice chancellor. He was lamenting that how will you put 50 students in a classroom? And you know, it was the era of this, social distancing. And I said, oh God, it's very simple. Why don't you tell 25 to come this week? The other 25 will join online. Then next week, those online will come physically, and this one join online. But then you have expanded the classroom, and you've expanded access, and then your problem is solved. So, just last year, NUC released 4 guidelines on open distance and e-learning. The first one, guidelines for the establishment of private open universities. We are all aware, we now have 5 open universities in Nigeria, the National Open University of Nigeria, and then 4 private open universities. We came up then with guidelines on transnational education with 6 models. There was guidelines for e-learning in Nigerian universities, and then there was guidelines on the implementation of OER in Nigerian universities. And I'm going home with one thing from this conference, to recommend the drawing up of guidelines for the use of artificial intelligence in education. The era of open and distance learning continues. Now, according to the National Policy on Education of 2004 document, the goals were 1, to provide access to quality education, to ensure equity in educational opportunities. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist, a person with special needs, and so on. Meet special needs of employers by mounting special certificate courses at the workplace, encourage internationalization of curricula, and then ameliorate the effects of internal and external brain drain. Now, there are several modes of distance learning recognized globally, among which are the following: the correspondence education model, the multiple media model, the group distance education model, the autonomous learner model, the technologically extended classroom model. But the one approved for the Nigerian university system is known as the ICT-enabled supported blended learning, IESBL model. And what are the features of IESBL model? Centrality of learning materials. Even before artificial intelligence, learning materials have started taking the place of teachers. And that is why they have to be drawn up or developed in mixed media formats. And then deploy appropriate technology, and there should be face-to-face components. We usually recommend probably 2 weeks to the end of a semester for the face-to-face components of IESBM model. And then the robust learner support, of course, the formative and summative assessments, and timely and meaningful feedback. And what are the rationale for regulating nodal institutions? Should it be all about expanding access? No. Quality of the product must also be assured to bring the best practices of distance learning up to speed with global best practices. Ensure the development of an educational system that is resilient and can subsist in spite of prevailing and threatening external factors. Engender an educational system that is accessible to all, irrespective of race, age, gender, place, and time. So what are the critical requirements for establishing a new? I just want to emphasize that for a new program, let me put it there with, yes, course materials must be ready, 100 to 300 level should be provided for all the courses in print, in electronic format, and must be placed on the learning management system of the center. In a nutshell, what I've been saying, ODL must be learner-centered, must be flexible, instructive, cost-effective, partnering, inclusive, and comprehensive. And so the major areas of open distance and e-learning are course materials development, ICT infrastructure, including the LMS, and adequate bandwidth, robust learner support services, building offices, audiovisuals, and other facilities, and more importantly, continual capacity building, training and retraining. So partnering or partnership is very established, is very important in ODL. And this has taken so many forms. If you recall the open system connectivity in systems hardware, IBM and compatibles that crashed the prices of hardware products. You should recall the free and open source software force era of 2004 to mid-2010. The Linux operating system, the MySQL, Python of this world, as against the priority software, such as Microsoft Windows, Unix, Microsoft SQL, and all that. It is now the era of open data and open educational resources, all in the bid to make information and educational resources available and accessible. So, ODL has its many applications. ODL is not really new in Nigeria. I've said it over and over. You recall the area of Balola. I have the privilege of reading his autobiography. And I know that after his standard 6, every other thing he did was through distance learning. Cambridge, O-level, A-level, bachelor degree in law, in commerce first, then in law, and all that. So the ODL has been with us for quite a time. And what is different now is the use of technology, LMS, robust ICT infrastructure, and internet access. The philosophy behind ODL is to work and learn. I've said it earlier, which has been found to be more potent and in comprehension than that of the traditional classroom setting. I brought out the issue of fractional distillation, fractional crystallization, saponification. I brought this out just to underscore some of us that did chemistry to a level. You know, I'm a village boy. I grew up seeing my grandmother doing palm oil, ogogoro, traditional this thing, and all that. So when I was preparing for my school start, and I read fractional distillation, fractional crystallization, saponification, I remembered that this is what my grandmother has been doing. And since that time to today, I have not forgotten those terms. What am I saying? That when you work and learn, you don't forget. Now globally, higher education is not only in Nigeria. This is about the globe. Higher education is going more and more skilled set. If you don't have a work at the time of enrollment, go and learn a trade alongside your studies. You know the story of late Victor Owefo. It's a very interesting one. He actually got his bachelor degree at 54, master's degree at 57. He ended up having the PhD after making all the names. It allows for the development of degree programs for target professions. Somebody is already a photographer or a cinematographer, and now he wants to obtain a degree. He doesn't have to go and study for BSc Mass Communication. He can go for BSc Photonics, Cinematography. If you check the internet, you see that they study photonics to PhD level in some other climes. I've said this one earlier, it allows for seamless career change. And now it's about lifelong learning. Even a professor can still go back to pick up one certificate or the other. You are a professor of engineering. Now you know you are retiring, and your community will be looking up to you for certain guidance. Nothing stops you to go and pick up postgraduate diploma in peace and conflict resolution, something like that. And age is not a barrier. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, the Awujale of Ijebu land, and many others have shown us the way that you can actually study at whatever age. Today, there are 31 ODL institutions in Nigeria. 5 of them are open universities, namely National Open University of Nigeria, Muhiba Open University, Bauchi, West Midland Open University, Ibadan, Iconic University of Open Learning, Sokoto, Miva Open University in Abuja. And there are 26 distance learning centers. Distance Learning Center of University of Ibadan, Center for Distance Learning, OAU, Distance Learning Institute, University of Lagos. Well, you can, for your education, if you don't know that one yet, you can read it up. Now, what are the challenges being faced? I think the Honorable Commissioner for Education said it while he was speaking his goodwill, that there is still the issue of parity of esteem. The society still believes that if you go through distance learning to obtain your degree, you are not as good, which is not true. I experienced this. I hold a bachelor degree of National Open University of Nigeria, so I know what it is. I know what it is to study through that route. And despite the government's efforts over time to insist that there should be no discrimination against graduates that take the ODL route, discrimination somehow persists. Now, why? Because there is this one confusion over ODL being a form of part-time program. No, ODL is not a part-time program. It is another mode of delivery and in a flexible manner. Therefore, a 4-year program in the traditional classroom setting will only attract a minimum of 4 years in the delivery via the ODM mode. If anybody has the capacity or capability to complete his program in 4 years, so be it. And if not, at his own pace. In the UK, they will give you maximum of 4 years, 6 years, whatever the number of years, multiplied by 1.5. Maximum, minimum, that number of years, the maximum times 1.5. We still have problem with low level of digital literacy. Meanwhile, digital literacy is the bedrock of the 21st century education. In my own view, it is not a requirement yet, but in my view, I think digital literacy certification should be part of requirements for enrollment into higher institutions in Nigeria. Digital literacy should be entrenched in the educational system right from kindergarten to the highest level of education in Nigeria. Now, if you don't know yet, the new method of teaching English alphabet will be A for Apple, B for Bluetooth, C for chat, D for download, E for email, F for Facebook, G for Google, H for Hotmail, I for internet, J for joystick, and so on. If you want to know more, come and see me. And see, we still have low knowledge of digital skills. There are over 600 digital skills available to the best of my knowledge. There may be more. Of course, there are more to latch on. For example, in engineering, you have Autodesk, Revit Electrical, Revit Civil, Revit Architecture, and so on, for engineering and environmental sciences. Intuit QuickBooks for accounting through finance. So what we are saying is that if you hold a bachelor degree, plus digital literacy certification, plus digital skills certification, you become a global professional. Then another challenge is that the inefficiencies inherent in the face-to-face setting being brought into the ODL delivery mode. Some people will say one of the things they have against ODL, they say if you give somebody an assignment, how are you sure that the assignment will be done by that person? And I will ask, even in the face-to-face, if you give somebody an assignment, how are you sure it is the person that did it? Because the assignment will be done from home. So if there are challenges, let us see how we work towards overcoming those challenges. So in conclusion, I'm rounding up to say that education remains the bedrock of development of any nation. To destroy a nation, first destroy its educational system, according to late President Nelson Mandela. So I took time to relive the beginning of formal education in Nigeria to the point where distance education has become the future of global education. Distance learning is all about lifelong learning, work, and study. In addition to advances in electronic and software engineering, low cost of acquiring education is another motivation for delivering through ODL mode. In my opinion, digital literacy certification holds the ace to an uncommon delivery of education through ODL mode. Thank you very much for your attention.